So for someone who's been like who is and has been an insider in like the legal system, I think most people, especially people in North America, can say like, "Hey, there is something wrong with the system of justice in in these." I'm in Canada, you're in the U.S. In these countries, um, there's something that is terribly wrong around the prison industrial complex. But what are some of the things that you, as being an insider, that you could see to really point out, like, "Hey, here's some of the real stuff that's going on that the average person might not know."
You know, it's honestly the scale of our mass incarceration system prevents nuance. So there were countless times where I would have a client, who has a real problem that caused them to be in the criminal justice system. And you were like, this person doesn't need jail. This person needs like a dual diagnosis program to address a mental health issue as well as a substance abuse issue. In Colorado, there was really only one, and it was like a 2 year long backlog. Or, hey, this is an assault case against two brothers, and it was right after their family member died. We don't need to put this person in jail for 30 days. Why don't we do restorative justice and let them talk it out? I think that's going to be better for everyone. It's going to be better for certainly the community. And often the response I would get is just kind of a shrug and be like, that seems too complicated. That seems like too much special work because of the scale of the system of mass incarceration. We kind of have to do a one size fits all. And it's because, especially in the United States, we have this like over incarceration mentality. There are too many people in the criminal justice system. There are too many people in jail. There are too many people on probation, honestly, that the people that could really benefit from nuance simply don't get it. And we have a really inefficient system where problems aren't solved, they're actually made worse. So, I think it's an issue of size and quite frankly, indifference. I often would tell like younger public defenders who are starting out in misdemeanor court, and I would say, listen, the worst thing that a DA is going to do to your client is not cheat and hide evidence. They do that. But the thing that is going to impact your clients the most is they do not give a shit. You know, they are just triaging people. They are just cranking people through the system, resolving, dealing with the cases. And, the overwhelming amount of people just sort of dulls a lot of participants in it. And, I think we need to sort of recognize that and really scale that down, because I think once you scale down or get rid of a lot of the bullshit that we see in a criminal courtroom, you can actually start addressing the really tough questions and the really underlying policy issues. But if everyone's so overwhelmed and just trying to survive, you never have the time to do that. And I think that's, obviously the biggest failures of the criminal justice system, but I also think that's intentional. I think there's a lot of people making a lot of money with the system of mass incarceration as it is and don't want to see it changed.
So around that, like scaling it down, making it more um, addressing the individual. Like I loved what you said was like, where it was like, oh, well, I don't love it, but you said it well, where it was like the response would be like, well, no, that seems too complex. Like that seems too special for this person. That to me is like, that's like crazy thinking. That's exactly what you should be thinking. But the way you also described it, where it's like, because it's on such large scale, nobody wants to slow down to do that thing because there's this big scale. So I know we're not here to solve the world's problems today, but like realistically, what could be done to create that space to really be more tailored to what's going on for the individual, to create more of a sense of like real justice and real opportunity to help people through that legal system?
Well, I think it can sort of start out by, obviously expanding diversion programs. People on like first time offenses for minor stuff, especially property crimes, um, you know, shouldn't go through the criminal justice system in the way that they go through now, where oftentimes the common plea is you have to do supervised probation and things like that. I think we should be looking at diverting more people from just even entering the system with programs. I think second is we need to really look and examine why we put people in jail. And to be very clear, most of the people in jails and prisons are not there for drug crimes. Oftentimes, I think the war on drugs has been awful. It's been racist. It's been classist. It has not made our society safer. It has stigmatized people that, use drugs and actually cause a lot more harm. But even if you were to take all those people out of incarceration, we would still have mass incarceration. And we really need to examine just sort of the loss of human dignity and the impact on communities when you are taking people and putting them in a cage when they truly don't need to be there, just because of retribution and just because of that's what we do. So I think first things first, we need to divert more people from the criminal justice system. I think the second thing is you know not every client I had found themselves charged with a crime because they didn't have the right resources or right social situation, but a lot of them did. And if we provided for their basic needs, a lot of my clients probably would not find themselves in the criminal justice system. And then, like I said before, we could focus on, the trickier solutions, the solutions that really do require a lot more thought, like violent crimes and things like that, things that aren't so definitively linked to this person has a mental health diagnosis and they weren't getting treatment. Or this person has a substance abuse issue or they weren't getting treated, or this person broke into a house because they wanted a place to sleep. And, if we were able to provide for those people's resources, a lot of people wouldn't be entering the criminal justice system. And it would allow us to try to find solutions for the harder problems. So I think those two right there would make things a lot easier. And I think the last aspect is we need to make more out of the rehabilitative component. Right now we see, prisons not really solving many problems. And, to be perfectly honest, I don't actually believe that putting someone in a cage solves complex social problems. But I can certainly acknowledge that, other countries, like Scandinavia, they certainly have better results in how they treat incarcerated people than the United States. And that's certainly progress. And I'm sure there's an easier way of tackling really difficult problems when you're not dealing with, frankly, bullshit crimes that don't need to be in a courtroom, that don't need to see people going to jail for.